Hey everyone, so this might seem a little bit familiar. Not sure which video is going to come out first, but remember, or if you've seen it, you'll probably recognize it. But today I'm making lasagna and tamales, green chicken tamales, and this video will be about the green chicken tamales, but you'll see some lasagna stuff hanging around on the counters as I'm making lasagna at the same time. So this is an easy recipe for everybody, and actually I'm making a little bit more harder for myself because I'm actually using my own tomatillos that I grew, and these I had in my freezer because I didn't have time to process them yet. So instead of just going and buying some green enchilada and green salsa verde or something like that from the store, I'm just going to make my own, but normally I would use something just from the store, mix it with a roasted chicken from the deli, and that's your filling. I mean, it can be that simple. But right now, what I've done is I've dehusked my tamales, and I'm about to put them under the broiler for about 5 minutes, take them out, flip them over, just so they get a little bit of those black spots on them. So anyways, join me. So let's see, let's get this oven going for broiling. We'll see if it works. This oven hasn't been working lately, so we are actually going to be replacing it and remodeling the kitchen since it's pretty old. I think the design is probably late 90s. Anyways, you can see back here I've got my lasagna meat sauce back here. Over here, maybe it's in the camera angle, hopefully. But this is some chicken broth that I made. So I had a whole chicken that I bought from a local farmer, and I put that chicken in here last night with, let's see, onion, celery, and some water that kind of covered it almost away, but not quite. And then I just put it on low all night. And this is the chicken. I haven't shredded it or anything or deboned it yet, but that's the chicken that came out of there. And then you can see this nice lovely broth that's in here as well. This broth can be used either for the filling or the masa when you make the masa, because both the filling and the masa usually have some kind of broth in them. Anyways, let me get these tomatillas into the oven for broiling, and I'll bring you back when they're done. Okay, so let's strain the broth. Come over here and this broth again is going to be used for, I'm probably going to use it for the filling. Okay. We still need to shred the meat too. Put the broth back here. I should also mention that I bought some corn husks from the store. This was basically the only kind that were available at my local store. I usually don't get them in, or get this brand, but I guess we'll find out. You can see they kind of have all this kind of brown stuff, and they're really pretty stiff. You're never going to be able to roll those for tamales or fold them. So that's what this is here. I've had these tamales in, or excuse me, the corn husks in water overnight with a plate here that's holding it down. And so this kind of serves as two purposes. One, you can see that this water is kind of dark because of that dark coloring on the husk, but you can see once you've soaked them, that dark coloring kind of comes away, and then look how pliable this is. So that's exactly what you're looking for. But you can see, I don't know if you can tell, but the water is kind of a brown color, and so a lot of that nasty looking dark stuff on the corn husk just kind of came right off in the soaking process. So let's get to shredding some chicken here. So basically just going through, grabbing just the chicken. I'm sure most of you have shredded a chicken before, so I'm not going to spend too much time showing you this, but I'm really just separating out the meat and then any of the cartilage. And then I'll probably even give this a good chopping so that it's nice and fine in the filling. I'll bring it back when I'm ready to start chopping. All right, everyone, so here is the tamales after they've been roasting for about 5 minutes. That dark brown spots is what we're looking for. I'm going to put them into my food processor over here and just let them cool down while I prep everything else to go in, and then we'll just blend it up until it's nice and smooth. All right, so let's start getting these tomatillos processed. I'm gonna add in 8 cloves of garlic. That's just about around 2 pounds of tomatillos. We're gonna blend this or process this. Okay, I'm gonna process this until it's nice and smooth. I'll bring you back, that way you don't have to hear all of this. Okay, so kind of blended it up into a nice, it's not super smooth, but looks pretty good. I'm putting it into this pot over here. There's about 3 tablespoons of oil in here that I'm gonna heat up. I'm gonna put the tomatillos in there and let them cook for about 5 minutes, and then I'm gonna throw 4 cups of my chicken broth in with it, and then we're gonna reduce it down by probably half. And then we'll mix in the chicken and the cilantro. I might put some peppers in here too, depending on the heat. I'm gonna also put in probably a little bit of my canned roasted green verde and put that in as well. So, all right, I'll bring you back. Okay, so I'm also gonna put in a jar of my green salsa, not my roasted verde. And you can see there's some peppers in here. So I'm gonna blend this in with my tomatillos and see if I can add a little bit of heat. I don't wanna add too much heat because we do give some of this away to friends, and so I don't want it to be too spicy. Okay, so I think my green salsa added a pretty good touch of heat. My tongue is definitely a tingling. Let this go for about 5 minutes, and then we'll put some broth in. I'll bring you back then. All right, so here's what it looks like. I have the green salsa basically and tomatillo mixture, kind of boiling in some oil. And I've been stirring it about every minute. I'm about to put the broth in here in about 1 minute. Okay, let's start putting our chicken broth in. And we're just gonna put 4 cups in. This is a half cup here. Okay, so that's about 4 cups. A little bit over, because I wasn't really, they weren't full half cups. All right, let's wait for that to come up to boil. We're gonna let it simmer down by half. Okay guys, I forgot that I was doubling this recipe, so I actually need 4 cups of this broth. Okay, and then 1 for good measure. Okay, so let's also start, clean this up a little bit. Kind of chopping up this chicken a little bit. We don't want it in big chunks. It's better if it's just a little bit chopped up into finer pieces. Let me see, can you see me? Oh, no, you can't see me. Okay, let's just back her up a little bit here. Okay, so I'm literally just going to kind of chop this a little bit. Chop it both directions. It's already kind of shredded when I was getting it off the bone. Plus, when you chop it like this, you can kind of feel for any bones while you're doing it. Because I don't know how many times I have thought I got every single one of those bones out and just didn't. You know, going and eating something at dinner, and I have, hopefully I'm about the only one that's actually all of a sudden chomped onto a bone, but who knows. People are nice. They're not going to tell you that usually, that, hey, by the way, I was eating your tamales and chomped into a little tiny chicken bone. Yeah. Most people are probably not going to say that. So this is a good chance to kind of really go through it and make sure you got every single bone out. All right, I'm going to keep doing that, and then I'll bring you back. Okay, so right now I'm just getting the cilantro ready to go for when the sauce is done. I'm just kind of de-stemming, taking the big stems out, and my filling is boiling. Here, let's show you really quick. So that's with the broth in, or 8 cups of broth. I'm trying to reduce it down by half. Let's see, here we go. Okay, so this here is 8 cups of shredded chicken, and that's going to go into that green salsa mixture as soon as it's reduced down a little bit, and then so will this cilantro, and then the filling will be ready to go. Now again, this could have been as easy as just going to the store, grabbing a rotisserie chicken so you didn't have something cooking all night long like I did. I've done it 100 times with, well, not literally 100 times, but most of the times when I've made the chicken the tamales, I would just grab a rotisserie chicken from the local deli, shred it up, and then I'd also get like a jar of the roasted verde sauce, and then maybe even green enchilada. Mix it together, boom, done. That's it. So I'm actually doing it a little bit more harder today just because I wanted to use up the frozen tomatillos in my freezer. Sorry, man, I've just been tongue-tied today. I'm saying all kinds of stuff. So, most of you who've been watching for a while would know that I have lasagna going. It's got about 30 more minutes in the oven. It's starting to smell delicious in here. Well, it already is smelling delicious in here because that tomatillo sauce just smells delicious. Oishi is what you would say in Japanese. So I'm just going to give this just a quick little chop. And then this pot that this is boiling in, I'm going to actually make into my tomatillo cooker. You can get, or excuse me, tamale cooker. A lot of times I've done it outside with a turkey fryer. I just kind of rig up something. So I'm going to be rigging something up in here too, because I don't have an official tamale steamer. So I'm just going to make up my own little steamer. So anyways, I'll bring you back when it's been reduced down by half and show you when I mix in the green salsa. We're probably going to go from here to here, just because this will be perfect for when I'm all set up on my assembly line to make the tamales. Alright, let's go ahead and get the green sauce mixed in with the chicken. Okay. That smells good. And we're just going to mix it up here. And then we're going to let it cool down so we can start the tamale making process. Let's get this all mixed in. Now you don't really want to add much salt unless your masa is not salted. And I have masa that I'm going to be using, from last year that I had in the freezer that I want to get out of the freezer and make sure it doesn't get wasted. So I'm going to be tasting it, and if it doesn't taste like it has very much salt, then I'll probably add some salt to this mixture. Now normally to make masa, you just follow the instructions on the bag. So let me show you here. Okay. Having a hard time reaching. This is when the boys, if they're around, are good for. Okay, so here's some masa. I've used different kinds. This is the kind that I have right now up in my cupboard. But usually they always have nice ingredients, or excuse me, directions on the back of, you know, how to make the masa. Let's see, where is this one here? No. Masa, instructions for masa right here. So it's just 2 cups of this with 1.5 cups of water. I do not use water, don't recommend it. Use broth. And then it says, make into a soft dough. These instructions are a lot different than on the other one. So generally, I probably wouldn't use this instructions. You're gonna wanna put like a lard of some sort or a fat of some sort in with it. Some salt, broth, not water. And then you get it in, you mix it all up, and you wanna get it to a peanut butter type consistency. I'll show you mine that I have in the fridge here in just a second. All right, guys, so I'm making some fresh masa because my frozen masa seems to be a little bit too crumbly. And I don't know if that's because it's still really cold or because of the freezing process, but it's kind of crumbling a little bit, and I don't want to take the chance. I mean, when you spend all the time making these tamales, you don't want to take a chance on using some kind of ingredient that's not going to work right. So anyways, I've got, let's see, a couple cups of masa in here. I want to say it's 4 cups of masa, and about 2 cups of warm water, teaspoon of salt, teaspoon of baking powder, and I'm about to put in just over a cup of lard. I heated the lard up in the microwave. That makes it way easier to work with. And now I'm just going to blend it until it's the right consistency, and I'm going to be adding some chicken broth as well. And so you're looking for like a peanut butter texture. Okay, so I don't know if you can tell how fluffy this is in the camera, but it's basically feels a lot like peanut butter. You want to mix it for quite a while, you know, like at least, 5 minutes or so, and so it's nice and fluffy. All right, guys, so I have my assembly line basically set up here. You see my lasagna that's done in the background. But my filling, my masa, my hydrated and washed corn husks. And when you're getting ready to make a tamale, it is important which side of the corn husk that you use. So you'll notice that on one side there's kind of a really ribbed, kind of rough texture, where the other side is more soft and does not have those ribs. So you want those ribs on the outside and your filling on the inside. Okay, I'm going to show you a couple ways you can do this. So one is basically just use a spatula or a spoon, whatever way that you find the easiest. You'll actually kind of figure it out on your own, what you think works the best for you. And I would say maybe about 1/4 of an inch thick. You're kind of spreading it like peanut butter. Now you can see this open spot, and so I'm going to show you a little bit this. This is probably a tiny bit bigger than what you'd want for the husk. It's probably a little bit wider than you want it, but we'll make it work here. So you're going to put maybe about 1 tablespoon to 2 tablespoons in the middle like this. And then you're just going to fold over this one side like this. Okay, kind of push it together and bring your other side over, and you can roll it up. This end comes up like that, and you can kind of squeeze at the top a little bit to kind of seal that a little bit. Again, you don't actually have to. A lot of times I don't even do that. And there you go. There's your first made tamale. Okay, so here we'll do another one. See, this is pretty wide, so I would just take off a bit. Make sure you have it on the non-ribbed side. Some people I've seen put their masa on with just their fingers. I mean, again, it's just your preference. But see how it spreads kind of like peanut butter? That's what you're looking for. Now I could go all the way out to this outside like this. Okay, and have it like this. And then you can kind of just roll it. But see how this part here isn't going to be in the filling, it's kind of in the flap area. Some people like that. It's just kind of like a little wing of the masa. Some people like it. You don't have to do that. It's just, again, what you find easier for yourself. So I'm going to do one more. And then I'll come back when I'm completely done rolling all these. Again, about 1/4 inch thick here. Some people like a thicker masa or shell or whatever you want to call it to their tamale. I'm not a really big fan of having it too thick. I want to be able to taste the filling. Okay, and then the amount that you, the length of that you use of the husk, sometimes the ribbing is hard to tell which is the inside. But, depending on how far you put your masa up this way is going to determine how long your tamales are. So again, that's complete preference. You know, some people might get really, you know, perfect with it. I'm just gonna kind of throw them together because I don't have time for perfection. All right, I'll bring you back when I'm completely done here. All right, guys, so I've got about almost 30 made up right now. I could probably make another 15 probably, but I'm gonna get these going right now in the steamer. All right, guys, so here's the steamer I kind of put together. So I have like a glass bowl in the bottom with about 2 inches of water, and then this is just a steaming, you know, vegetable steamer. And I'm gonna, you know, put my tamales in here straight up, and then the lid on, and they cook some anywhere between 45 minutes to an hour. All right, so we're going to put kind of a layer of some of corn husks on the bottom here, and there's a bunch you'll be able to use that you know, are just too small. So you're gonna put some here, and then when you've got the tamales in there, you're also going to put a layer on top of them as well. Okay, so I've got the heat up to high. I'm kind of trying to get it brought up to a boil here. So here's our tamales, and we're just gonna kind of set them in here. They got to be standing straight up. See how many we can get in here. This is the first time I've used this setup. Like I said, I usually use a tall turkey fryer, but I figured I'd try something different. Okay, I'm going to keep packing it in here. Okay, so that's about all I'm going to be able to fit in here. So I'm going to layer a bunch of corn husks across the top, and then put the lid on and let it go. You'll probably have to regulate the heat a little bit. It doesn't have to actually stay on boiling hot. I just have it on high right now until it comes up to boil, and then I'll just kind of turn it down. You'll be able to tell by the rattling of the lid if it's too high. So come back and take a look in about 1 hour. Okay, second thing of tamales is going in. Here's one that's finished and out of its wrapper. Here, let me break it open for you. Very, very delicious. As always, be kind and wander well.